In a dimly lit alley, shadows crept along the cracked brick walls as Mateo Rivera cradled his guitar. The flickering light from a street lamp cast an eerie glow, illuminating a space filled with emptiness. He strummed the instrument gently, pouring his heart into the haunting melody that echoed into the night. "Here goes," he whispered to himself, but doubt clung to him like a heavy fog. As he sang, each lyric danced through the cool air, rich with emotion. The words spoke of love lost and longing, their power palpable, yet they fell on indifferent ears. Passers-by rushed by, too absorbed in their own lives to notice the soulful performance unfolding before them. Mateo's heart sank with each missed glance. He was just another invisible figure, lost among the chaos of a city that rarely paused to acknowledge anyone. The haunting chords poured from his fingers, a connection he desperately yearned for, but could not grasp. In the shadows, Lucia Ramos listened, her heart heavy with her own sorrow. The melodies curled around her, awakening grief she sought to numb since her sister's agonizing death months ago. Tears streamed down her cheeks, glistening under the dim light. Every note resonated deep within her, igniting a flicker of emotion that had long been frozen. "Why?" she whispered to the darkness, battling thoughts that crept in like unwelcome intruders. The notion of letting go lingered in her mind, just as the words of Mateo's song penetrated her defenses, wresting her from the numbness she had cocooned herself in. As the music filled the air, a profound connection blossomed in that alleyway. Unbeknownst to Mateo, his heartfelt ballad reached Lucia's broken spirit, binding their pain in silent understanding. For each verse he sang, she could feel her heart aching alongside his, a beautiful yet haunting unity in sorrow. The final note drifted away, and Mateo's voice faded into silence. His eyes searched the alley, desperate for acknowledgement, but saw only shadows merging into darkness. A sigh escaped his lips, weighty and filled with a sense of defeat. "Is there any point?" he murmured, the question echoing in the stillness. Lucia considered stepping out, driven by a sudden urge to reach for the warmth of shared suffering. She found herself leaning further into the light, able to glimpse the soft vulnerability behind his hardened exterior. They were both lost, yet perhaps not entirely alone. There, in the suffocating silence of that night, something shifted within them both. Each melody lingered, a promise of possibility amidst despair, an awakening that yearned for light within the darkness. Though neither could yet recognize it, a path through their shared heartache began to unfold, waiting for the right moment to take flight. As wind whispered through the alley, it carried the resonance of Mateo's music, lingering long after the last note faded. Hope awakened in the shadows, waiting for a chance to break free. The alley felt quieter now, still echoing the last chords of Mateo Rivera's guitar. He often found himself lost in the warmth of memories, recalling laughter that once filled his home. Those vibrant gatherings where music spilled from every corner felt like a lifetime ago. He could picture his family clearly, a mother with a smile that sparkled like sunlight, a father whose advice anchored him, and a younger sister who painted every moment with her exuberance. Together, they wove a tapestry of sound and warmth that enveloped him. But an accident stole that joy away, leaving only silence where laughter had once thrived. Mateo's heart ached with the weight of his loss. Each song he attempted felt heavy with grief, as if the beauty he once created had been swallowed by darkness. Would he ever reclaim that spark? Meanwhile, in her cluttered studio, Lucia Ramos was struggling to connect with her own fading passions. The remnants of her sister's life surrounded her. Scattered paintbrushes and unfinished canvases reflected her internal chaos. Every corner of the room overflowed with reminders of their shared dreams, dreams that felt unreachable. Her sister's laughter, once a source of comfort and inspiration, now pierced through her chest like a knife. They had spent countless nights painting murals together, their colors blending in perfect harmony. But without her sister, Lucia felt like a single note played in solitude, a world drained of vibrant hues. "Art was our way of celebrating life," Lucia reminded herself, trying to break through the numbness. She closed her eyes and envisioned the murals they had created together, particularly the tree they had painted, a magnificent oak with branches outstretched, each leaf brimming with personality. It was time to honor that memory. Days turned into nights, and both Mateo and Lucia wrestled with their heartaches, unaware that fate was drawing them closer together. Matteo stumbled upon a flyer advertising an open mic night at a cozy cafe. His heart raced. Could this be the chance to connect again through his music? Yet hesitation held him back, whispering doubts into his mind. What if I fail again? Lucia sat alone in her studio, contemplating her own insecurities. An art gallery had sparked something in her, a painting of a tree that echoed with memories of her sister. Inspired, she took to her easel, determined to revive the color and joy her sister had brought into her life. The brush in her hand began to dance, creating a vibrant mural that reflected both their spirits fused together. As the days melted away, the open mic night drew closer, and Matteo knelt before his guitar, strumming chords that carried fragments of his heart into the night. He had begun to write again, working toward reclaiming his voice, though he remained fraught with self-doubt. Finally, the evening of the open mic arrived. The cafe buzzed with energy as patrons settled into their seats. Flames flickered in candlelight, reflecting the warmth of community that surrounded him. Matteo chose a corner, hoping to stay anonymous, yet his pulse quickened in anticipation. The performers took turns sharing their stories, each melody weaving a narrative of heartbreak and healing. The air filled with a magnetic energy that both frightened and excited him. Just as he thought about leaving, something captivating caught his ear. Lucia stepped onto the stage, heart racing as she pulled the microphone close. She gazed nervously into the crowd, and a spark ignited when their eyes met, a momentary recognition binding them together. Swallowing hard, she began to share the story behind her painting, her tribute to her sister. This is for her, the one who taught me to blend colors, to honor life even in the face of loss, she spoke, courage building with each word. Matteo listened as her voice resonated with emotions he knew all too well. The weight of their shared pain enveloped him, drawing him closer. As she finished her story, applause erupted around them, but for Matteo time slowed down and he felt something in him shift. With each story shared in the cafe that night, both musicians found pieces of themselves reflected back at them. Lost amidst their heartache, purpose began to unfurl. Perhaps their paths were meant to intertwine, not only to heal individually, but together. After her performance, Lucia meandered through the crowd, still buzzing from the connection she'd felt. She caught sight of Matteo, his eyes filled with an understanding she longed for but had yet to fully grasp. They exchanged hesitant smiles as she approached him, her heart racing with the tremors of a lifetime spent in quiet solitude. "Your music," she began, the words tumbling out. "It feels like it's been waiting to be heard." Matteo nodded, the warmth of her words washing over him, igniting a flicker of belief he thought he'd lost. "And yours. It's like you freed something within me." As they conversed, the night faded, replaced by the promise of shared experiences, healing and perhaps something more profound. This connection between them, born of separate losses yet tied by similar passions, sparked a hope that glimmered brighter than either could have imagined. In that cafe, under the flickering candlelight, Matteo and Lucia stood on the brink of a new beginning, ready to embrace the healing that could come from their shared journeys through sorrow. The music and art that had once brought them heartache now blossomed into a space for hope, together. As weeks passed, the budding connection between Matteo and Lucia blossomed into a delicate partnership. They shared their passions with renewed excitement, Lucia painting while Matteo strummed his guitar, their creativity intertwining like vines climbing toward the sun. Yet, beneath the warmth of their friendship lay shadows that loomed larger by the day. For Matteo, the specter of his past frequently cast him back into haunting memories. With each new chord strummed, whispers of doubt danced around him, pulling him into familiar sorrow. The laughter of his family echoed in his mind, a reminder of what he had lost. What if the music he created could never compare to the love he once knew? While he found fleeting moments of joy in their collaboration, those moments often crumbled under the weight of grief. One evening, burdened by his fears, he abruptly halted their work. "I can't do this anymore," he confessed, the words coming out like a gasp. Lucia turned, surprise painting her features. "What do you mean? I thought I could find solace in our art, but all I feel is more loss. What if I'm not enough? What if I'm just failing at everything?" His eyes reflected a swirl of vulnerability and despair. "Matteo, please," she urged softly, stepping closer. "You're not failing. You've already taken brave steps to create with me. You have a voice that needs to be heard." "Do I?" he replied, his voice heavy with uncertainty. "What if no one cares? What if—" "Stop," she interrupted, her tone firm yet gentle. "You can't predict the reaction of others. What matters is what you feel when you create. You have to show up for yourself, just like I have to show up for my art." But as hard as she tried, her encouragement faded into the background of his anguish, and Matteo found himself withdrawing. The numbness began to creep back, transforming their vibrant sessions into shadowy corners of missed opportunities. He cancelled plans, choosing solitude over creativity, and the warmth of their connection dimmed like a dying ember. Determined not to let Matteo slip away, Lucia arrived at his apartment one rainy evening, the storm mirroring the turmoil she sensed within him. She knocked bravely on the door, her heart pounding. "Matteo, it's me." Silence met her call, and for a moment, fear gripped her. "Please let me in," she added, her voice softening. Finally, the door cracked open, revealing Matteo's weary face. Shadows lingered under his eyes, a testament to the isolation he had cloaked himself in. "Lucia," he muttered, surprise and discomfort mingling in his tone. He stepped aside, allowing her entrance while the weight of his silence fell thick around them. "Why have you stopped coming around?" she pressed gently, concern threading through her words. I just need to take a step back," he stammered, avoiding her gaze. "What if I disappoint you?" Lucia's heart ached for him as she took a step closer. "You're not a disappointment," she said firmly. "We have both experienced loss and I want to support you, but it's hard when you shut me out." Matteo's shoulders sagged, the tension radiating from him evident. He had watched Lucia pour herself into her art, yet insecurity held him separate. "But you're thriving and I feel stuck. I can't keep pretending I'm okay," he confessed, voice trembling. "You can be honest with me," she urged, her eyes brimming with compassion. "I see your gifts, don't you see them too? What we create together matters even in our vulnerability." As fear wrestled with emotional truth, Luca's unwavering belief quietly pierced through his defenses. Something in Matteo began to thaw, feeling the comfort of her persistence seed a flicker of hope. He hesitated, the floodgates threatening to break. "I just want to be worthy of sharing my music again." "You already are," she replied softly, reaching out to touch his arm gently. "Every note, every brushstroke, they're all pieces of us. Together, we can heal." In that moment, an unspoken clarity settled between them. Chains of loneliness that held Matteo began to loosen as he acknowledged his fear rather than running from it. "What if we help each other find our voice again?" he whispered, the suggestion tumbling forward like an invocation. Lucia smiled, her heart swelling with relief. "Yes, together we can rise above our fears. We're in this as partners, right?" The shadows of doubt still loomed. Their journey would be far from easy. But in that small, stormy room, hope flickered anew, guided by the understanding that vulnerability held the power to forge connection. "Let's promise that whatever happens, we'll create together," Matteo said, determination threading through his voice. Hand in hand, they stepped back into the creative light, prepared to face the challenges lurking in the shadows of their pasts. Together, they embraced the task of reclaiming their artistry and honoring their shared grief, nurturing the bond that had meant so much in their journey toward healing. The following days became a whirlwind of creativity as Matteo and Lucia embraced a ritual of shared artistry. They transformed the small sunlit corners of Matteo's apartment into a vibrant studio where paint smells mingled with the soft strumming of guitar strings. A symphony of sound and color filled the air, a renewing elixir that nurtured their connection. Lucia set to work on a mural, a piece inspired by their journeys of grief and healing. The canvas slowly birthed a majestic tree, its roots deep and sprawling, symbolizing resilience against the storms. Each leaf carried memories of laughter and tears, intertwining their narratives within the art. As she painted, vivid colors sparkled under the brush, illuminating layers of emotion and hope. Matteo, inspired by Lucia's dedication, returned to his guitar with growing eagerness. He strummed chords that resonated with the echoes of their conversations, crafting lyrics that honored their pasts while looking forward to a horizon filled with endless possibilities. Shadows of doubt still flickered at the edges of his mind, but the light of shared purpose urged him onward, reminding him that he was not alone in his journey. One afternoon, as they sat together in the gentle glow of sunset, they decided it was time to give their combined creativity a voice. "Let's perform together," Lucia suggested, a thrill lacing her tone. An open mic night at the cafe awaited, calling them like a moth to a flame. Matteo's heart raced at the prospect, a mix of exhilaration and terror. "What if we fail?" he whispered, memories of past disappointments conjuring doubt. "But what if we soar?" Lucia countered, her eyes sparkling with conviction. "We've something special here, I believe in us." Strengthened by their commitment, they began rehearsing, combining Matteo's heartfelt melodies with Lucia's evocative visuals, creating a multimedia performance that reflected the depths of their souls. The high notes carried their resilience, while the low notes unraveled the rawness of their stories. The night of the performance arrived. The cafe buzzed with anticipation, the warm lights casting a cozy glow upon the intimate crowd. As they took the stage, a surge of nerves washed over them. Matteo's hands trembled slightly as he wrapped his fingers around the guitar. Lucia's brush was poised to paint, an unsteady reminder of the stakes they had placed upon themselves. But as the first chords resonated and the notes intertwined with Lucia's brushstrokes gracing the canvas, something beautiful unfolded. With each strum and each stroke, they found solace within the very art they had created. The audience became witnesses to their healing, hearts bound together through shared vulnerability. Matteo closed his eyes, allowing the music to carry him. Each lyric spoken echoed with rawness, a tapestry woven from pain, loss, and ultimately rebirth. Encounters between the past and present flowed through him, merging into this moment like a river uniting the shores. Lucia stepped forward, her fingers dancing over her brush, translating Matteo's lyrics into colorful expressions on her canvas. Her movements mirrored the ebb and flow of each note, creating a visual composition that sang just as loudly as the music. As they performed, the weight that had once pressed down on them lightened, transforming into a vibrant energy that fueled their collaboration. They were not just telling a story of grief, they were unveiling a narrative of resilience, of the courage it takes to hope again. Applause erupted as they concluded, the warmth of connection sparking through the crowd. It was a moment that felt less like an ending and more like a beginning, one that promised future journeys and deeper artistry yet to unveil. Afterward, young and old alike gathered around them, drawn in by the authenticity of their expression. "Your performance was so moving," one audience member praised, tears brimming in her eyes. "It resonated with me and my own losses." Matteo and Lucia exchanged knowing glances, the flicker of shared understanding grounding them amidst the whirlwind of excitement. They weren't just artists, they were vessels of comfort for others navigating their own storms. That night marked a pivotal moment, a rebirth of identities locked in heartache, transformed by art's power to heal. Matteo felt the tremors of doubt settle, replaced with embers of purpose glowing anew. Lucia held the fullness of her sister's memory close, the vibrant mural becoming a tribute to their shared connection and a testament to resilience. As they returned to Matteo's apartment, exhilaration still flowing through their veins, they began discussing their next steps, a desire bubbling within them to create a larger narrative that could reach beyond the cafe walls. "A project reflecting both our journeys," Lucia proposed, her eyes gleaming with ambition. "A way to share what we learned through our art." Matteo nodded, inspired by her vision. "Maybe a series of songs that weave into your paintings, something that showcases our story of loss and the beauty of finding hope again." They spent countless evenings fine-tuning details, sketching concepts, and building a repertoire that spoke to the heart. Their bond grew deeper through countless shared stories, laughter and moments of silence, where the beauty of understanding needed no words. With each layer he added to his music and each stroke of her brush, they began to craft something larger than themselves, a celebration of life, loss, and renewed purpose. Through darkness, they forged a light that would shine for others and themselves, illuminating the path for anyone walking a similar journey. As winter thawed into spring and the world outside burst with colors anew, Matteo and Lucia stood on the precipice of a new chapter, ready to embark on their artistic endeavor, ready to tell their stories, both of pain and of newfound hope. With hearts full of gratitude, they gazed at the tree Lucia had painted, the roots symbolizing the strength and resilience they had cultivated together. It stood tall against the backdrop of their evolving lives, a living testament to the beauty that could emerge from the depths of despair. "Here's to new beginnings," Matteo whispered, smiling at Lucia. To rebirth and the power of art, she replied, raising her brush as if toasting to the universe, ready to embrace whatever came next. Hand in hand, they stepped boldly into the future, guided by the very spirit of creativity that had once seemed lost, but now flourished between them. As spring settled in, the air vibrated with anticipation for Matteo and Lucia. They had set their sights on creating a collection of songs and paintings that resonated with their journeys through grief and renewal. Yet with ambition came unease, as Matteo found himself troubled by unresolved emotions that surfaced deeper than he had anticipated. One afternoon, while reviewing their mural, Matteo stepped back to admire the growing masterpiece. "This is coming together beautifully, Lucia," he said, though doubt lingered in his voice. "But are we ready to share it with the world?" Lucia paused, her brush hovering mid-air. "What do you mean?" "I worry that our story won't resonate. What if people don't connect with the pain we've experienced?" Doubt festered in his mind, casting shadows over their work. "What we create is raw and real," she reassured him, stepping nearer. "Every piece of art comes from honest places. It might give someone else hope." Matteo shook his head, his frustration mounting. "But what if we're exposing too much? What if it's painful for us to revisit?" Lucia set down her brush, her expression shifting. "Matteo, avoiding our pain won't make it disappear. Talking about our struggles and sharing them can create important connections. But what if we just hurt?" he said, bordering on despair. The notion of revisiting old wounds felt overwhelming. "Then we hurt together," she replied firmly. "That's part of the process. Through pain, we tend to learn and grow the most." Silence enveloped them for a moment as they navigated their contrasting views. Matteo felt the pressure of stepping into vulnerability, while Lucia sensed the urgency of their mission. Days turned into weeks with unspoken words hanging over them, leading to creative sessions that felt disconnected. Their collaboration became strained, with Lucia pouring herself into her work while Matteo struggled to find his footing. The vibrancy of their earlier efforts faded, replaced by lingering tensions that formed a palpable barrier between them. One night, after a particularly charged rehearsal, Lucia stepped outside for fresh air. The cool breeze brushed against her face as she mulled over the growing distance between them. Matteo hesitated, then followed her outside, the evening's calm starkly contrasting their earlier frustration. "Lucia," he began, drawing in a breath, "I'm scared. This project, we've put so much into it, yet I can't help but feel overwhelmed." Pulling her gaze from the moonlit sky, Lucia met his eyes, a reassuring smile breaking through. "I'm scared too, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't proceed. What we're doing is meaningful. Do you think it's foolish, putting ourselves out there like this?" he questioned, uncertainty creeping into his words. "It's not foolish. It's courageous," she affirmed, stepping closer. "Facing our fears allows us to connect with others. This isn't only about us, it's a bridge to those who may feel the same." Matteo let her words sink in. "You may be right. I've been holding on to this fear, thinking I've nothing valuable to share. But I truly want our story to matter," he confessed. "Then let's make it matter together," Lucia encouraged, her voice steady. With renewed resolve, Matteo nodded slowly. They turned back toward the cafe, the familiar place that had nurtured their bond. It was time to transform their fear into a source of strength, a catalyst for change. Together, they immersed themselves in creating a work that would resonate deeply, songs that would echo their healing journey, and a mural expanding with vivid narratives of heartache and hope. With every note and brushstroke, they chipped away at the fears that were once barricades, the energy of their collaboration blooming anew. As the date of their presentation approached, excitement and nerves intertwined, crackling like electricity in the air. They practiced numerous times, honing their performance with every repetition, the fabric of their creation coming to life. Finally, the night arrived. The cafe was alive with chatter, candlelight flickering as friends, family, and strangers gathered, all clamoring to witness the merging of art and music. Matteo felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety as he stood backstage, the familiar knot tightening in his stomach. Lucia stood by his side, her presence grounding him. "Remember, we're here together," she whispered, her palm resting on his arm. Taking a deep breath, Matteo stepped onto the stage, the spotlight bathing them in warm light. As the room hushed, he began to strum the guitar, each note hanging in the air, an invitation to their story. With Lucia by his side, brush poised to paint, they launched into their performance. The melody bloomed as he sang with earnestness, lyrics embodying everything they had been through, heartache, loss, and the beauty that emerged from their struggles. Lucia moved in rhythm with the music, her brush dancing across the canvas, translating the emotions into vibrant visual expressions. Together, they wove an experience that transcended their individual journeys, creating a mesmerizing narrative of resilience. The audience became captivated, most of them relating to their story in profound ways. In that moment of vulnerability and openness, Matteo understood they weren't merely telling their story. They were crafting a universal bond that resonated deeply, reaching into the hearts of everyone present. As the final notes lingered, applause erupted, washing over them in waves of warmth, an affirmation of their truth and artistry. Matteo's heart soared as he caught sight of familiar faces amidst the crowd, friends who had shared in their and moments of struggle. Hand in hand they stood before the audience, their connection strong. They had confronted their fears, emerged transformed, and found solace in the power of their shared creative journey. In that moment, Matteo realized that the confrontation of their fears had blossomed into something beautiful. The night had become a celebration of life, intertwined with heartfelt art, illuminating their path forward. They soared into new possibilities, ignited by the hope of what had been created and the many stories yet to be told. The weeks following their performance brought a flurry of activity and a sense of newfound purpose. The community buzzed with excitement, and Matteo and Lucia were seen as symbols of resilience, their story resonating with those who had experienced loss. A sense of healing washed over them, further solidifying their bond and igniting a shared mission. One morning, as sunlight streamed through the window, Matteo plucked at his guitar, a soft melody floating in the air. Lucia watched from the kitchen, pouring coffee, the aroma weaving through the space, wrapping them in its warmth. She loved these simple moments. They felt like the heartbeat of their shared life. "Do you remember that night? How terrified we were?" Lucia asked, leaning against the counter and placing her mug down. Matteo smiled, the memory brushing over him like a gentle caress. "Yeah, but we made it through," he replied, a hint of pride in his voice. "If we can do that in front of a crowd, then we can face anything," Lucia said confidently, her eyes shining with belief. "What's next for us?" The question hung in the air, exciting and daunting. They had shared their personal journey, but now what? Their performance had sparked conversations in the community, people expressing gratitude for their authenticity. It seemed the world was asking for more. "We could host workshops," Matteo suggested thoughtfully. "Artists struggling with their stories could come together. We could create a space where they can share and heal, just like we did." Lucia's face lit up, excitement bubbling forth. "Yes, we can nurture others in their creativity. Remember how we felt pairing our music and art? It turned our pain into something beautiful." As they pored over plans, the workshop idea crystallized. They envisioned a gathering, an interactive session where participants would create together, share their stories, and explore their artistic expressions. It nestled perfectly with their mission and allowed them to extend the healing they had begun. Weeks later, the first workshop day arrived. The room was bright, filled with colorful supplies and instruments, an inviting space designed for creativity. Participants trickled in, some nervous, others eager. Each one carried a story, and Matteo and Lucia were ready to guide them through the complexities of sharing. "Welcome, everyone," Matteo greeted with warmth, his nerves masked by excitement. "This space is for you, to explore and express." As they began, Lucia shared her mural process, explaining how art had helped her navigate her grief. The attendees listened intently, some nodding with recognition. Matteo followed, playing a song that encapsulated his journey, raw and personal, but filled with hope. Tears glistened in some eyes and others smiled as they felt a spark of understanding. "Creating art isn't just about the finished piece," Lucia emphasized. "It's about what the process brings out of us. Each brushstroke or note is a step toward healing." The participants formed small groups, engaging in discussions that blossomed like spring buds revealing their color. They shared laughter and tears, vulnerability threading through the air, binding them together. Matteo and Lucia moved between groups, offering encouragement, suggestions, and heartfelt affirmations. The transformation was palpable. One participant, a woman named Sarah, shared how art had been a distant memory during her struggles with loss. "It feels like I've finally found my voice again," she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Thank you both for this space." As the day unfolded, something magical occurred. The atmosphere filled with creativity, color splashing against walls and harmonies spilling from the guitars. People wrote songs, painted, danced, expressions of their souls pouring forth. Matteo and Lucia witnessed something beyond what they had envisioned. Here, in this space, healing was happening, and the energy was beautiful. At the end of the day, they gathered in a circle, hands holding music sheets, paintbrushes, and clay. "Let's share what we've created," Matteo suggested, heart swelling with hope. One by one, participants spoke bravely about the stories behind their expressions. A portrait drawn by a man named David, who had lost a child, teemed with emotion and heartache, but also glowed with tenderness, capturing the flickering light of remembrance. As tears streamed down faces and laughter mingled with the air, the strength of their shared experience resonated within the circle. Each story blended into a symphony of resilience, enveloping them like a comforting hug. As the circle came to a close, Lucia felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. "You've all shown how powerful sharing can be. Just like art, our stories connect us, heal us, and inspire us to rise again," she conveyed, tears of joy shining in her eyes. The participants nodded in agreement, the room now filled with an unbreakable bond, a testament to the healing power of vulnerability. Matteo and Lucia exchanged glances, knowing their mission had ignited a flame, and together they meant to keep it alive. As they cleaned up, the conversations flowed seamlessly, laughter dancing through the room. In those moments, it became evident that healing was multifaceted. It blossomed not just in sharing, but in feeling seen, heard, and understood by one another. They left the workshop with their hearts full. Matteo felt invigorated by the impact they had made. The connections formed were just the beginning, further igniting their passions to continue their work in the community. That evening, as they sat on the porch with the sun setting behind them, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Matteo and Lucia reflected on the day. "You know, I felt something today," Matteo said, gazing toward the horizon. "It's like opening our hearts has had a ripple effect." Lucia smiled softly. "We're part of something bigger than ourselves now. It feels like we're truly healing, not just us, but everyone around us." They shared a quiet moment, letting the weight of their experience settle comfortably. Each brushstroke and each note played infused not only their art, but also their lives with new purpose. "Here's to more healing," Matteo said, raising an imaginary glass to the night sky, echoing their commitment to continue walking this path. "To the stories yet to be told," Lucia echoed, her heart swelling with hope for the future. Together they embraced the journey ahead, fueled by the realization that art had the power to connect, heal, and inspire, a force that transformed not just their lives, but the lives of those willing to join them. As the months passed, Matteo and Lucia's workshops flourished into a beloved community event. Each session was a vibrant tapestry woven with stories of healing and resilience. They became a refuge where participants found solace in shared experiences, transforming pain into powerful art. One sunny Saturday, anticipation hung in the air as they prepared for a special exhibition. Colorful creations adorned the cafe walls and lights twinkled overhead. Matteo stood backstage, his heart racing in a mix of excitement and nerves. "Do you think they'll like it?" he asked Lucia, glancing around at the gathering crowd. "They'll love it," she replied, her eyes sparkling with confidence. "Tonight we celebrate art and the connections we've forged together." As guests filled the room, friends, family, and new faces, the atmosphere buzzed with hope. Matteo knew that each piece on display was more than just art. It was a testament to their collective journey. The program commenced with heartfelt speeches. Participants shared their stories of struggle, vulnerability, and triumph, weaving a narrative that resonated deeply. Matteo could feel the energy in the room shift as emotions unfolded. "The healing power of art is profound," Lucia said as tears glistened in her eyes, watching others reveal their truths. "This is why we do what we do." When it was their turn to take the stage, Matteo's heart raced. "Thank you all for being here," he began, gripping the microphone. "Tonight we're celebrating art as a bridge to healing. This song embodies our journey, and we hope it touches you." As the music flowed, Lucia moved rhythmically, her brush capturing the moment on canvas. The crowd watched, enraptured, as melodies intertwined with heartfelt emotions, creating an immersive experience. When the final note faded, applause erupted, filling the room with warmth. Cheers echoed, affirming the power of their shared creativity. Matteo exchanged glances with Lucia, realizing the impact of their work had transformed lives beyond their own. Later, as they mingled among the guests, Matteo spotted Sara from their first workshop. She was passionately sharing her artwork, surrounded by listeners who were captivated by her story. His heart swelled with pride. As the evening progressed, Lucia approached Matteo, her expression serious but hopeful. "I think this is just the beginning," she said, her voice steady. "Beginning of what?" Matteo asked, intrigued. "What we've started here can extend beyond this community. We could help others find their voices through art, write programs, conduct retreats." Matteo felt a thrill at the thought. Yes, we could create spaces for healing and creativity in other communities. Their eyes sparkled with enthusiasm for what lay ahead. This exhibit was not merely an individual celebration, it was a catalyst to inspire growth and connection. As they wrapped up the exhibition, the conversations grew louder, laughter spilling forth. Matteo and Lucia found joy in the vibrant interactions, witnessing the community flourish before their eyes. "I never imagined it would feel this good," Matteo remarked, leaning against the wall, watching attendees engage. "We've touched so many lives." "And this is just the start," Lucia replied, her smile radiant as she glanced around at the thriving connections. "Imagine how many more we can inspire." That night they left the cafe with fulfilled hearts, under a sky blanketed by stars. Matteo turned to Lucia, gratitude swelling within him. "Thank you for believing in us, in this journey." Lucia laid her hand on his arm, her expression filled with warmth. "Together we found our purpose. Let's keep creating, sharing, and healing." As they strolled home, a sense of excitement enveloped them. They looked forward to nurturing their community, ready to extend their reach far and wide. "Here's to new beginnings," Matteo raised an imaginary toast to the night. "To stories waiting to be told," Lucia echoed, her heart full of hope, envisioning the future. Hand in hand, they embraced the journey ahead, driven by the belief that art possesses the power to connect, heal, and inspire, a force that could illuminate endless paths for those who dared to walk them. They stepped forward into a world filled with promise, ready to transform lives, knowing their story was only just unfolding.